All right. And we are back and live on the old soapbox. All right, gang. So we're back. Wanted to hop back on. It's been quite the week for me. My daughter's in daycare, and it's just been crushing me, no one else. But I've been sick a good amount. She got me the flu and now pneumonia, but I'm on the other side of it, so let's make it happen. But some really good feedback on sort of the RX and scaled athlete post. Hopefully that brings some insight. And I think it's an ever-going discussion and conversation about how we present our product to our classes, and like anything, it's, remember, everything is your fault. So if your gym really struggles with things like that, look at yourself. It's no one else's fault. And it doesn't mean you're a bad person, you've done something wrong. It's just like, it's, CrossFit's been around a really long time, and there's always, you kind of go through ebbs and flows and focuses. And I've talked to a lot of gym owners and affiliate owners, for example, that want to switch from strength and Metcon because they thought that was what needed to be done at some point in time. And I truly believe that was a decision that they made it, to take care of their people. They realized now they need to switch it up, but now how do you do that? So I think that if we're having these conversations, these thought processes, it's along the right lines. It doesn't make it easier, but at least we're thinking about that stuff. But I wanted to hop on and chat a little bit about I did an Instagram post of me making a mashed potato squat clean at 315 last week, and basically I listed out a bunch of like goals that I always have. And it was funny because it brought apart a lot of comments of my list, and that's the beauty of social media. And the concept behind it was, one, it's my personal list. It has nothing. I don't put that on anyone else. It's just what I personally want. And I did a lot of thinking about what that means to me. And I do think how do I overlay this to others and sort of within the world of fitness and goals. And I think a lot of times this is and also like, what is the purpose of CrossFit and what we do for other people? And, I think that, people walk into the gym and 99.9% of people just want to look good naked. They want to play with their great grandkids. That's the results that they want. But that's, in my opinion, I don't think that's enough. And like, what does that mean? Just motivation wise, I think that everyone needs some specific goals, and I think it can be very personal, but for me, that list is my list that pushes me. Now, keep in mind, my background is different than most people from this perspective of I've competed for 10 years, and I still train at a volume that's much higher than the traditional affiliate goer on purpose. I love it. So when I think about these numbers, like, I always want to be able to squat clean 315, snatch 225. I want to be able to do, 20 strict pull-ups unbroken. I want to, be able to push press 275. Big numbers, like I want to be able to back squat, 400, always deadlift 500 plus. And do any CrossFit benchmark within like a 2 or 5%, differential of my PR, and no matter anything we do, I'd like to be able to bench press 275 or 225 for 10 reps. And these numbers for me, and obviously that I'll, run a 5K in say 21 minutes, always be able to row a sub 7 2K. And I look at these things, and the reason why is, like, one, I'm very in tune with my numbers and things that my weaknesses are, like lifting. But it gives me goals, and it allows me to achieve things, and I really like to have things like that. It gives me purpose. So when I train, when I've trained for years from a competition perspective, I always had purpose. The purpose was, I want to train as hard as I can, as smart as I can, work my weakness as much as I can in order to be better. So when I compete, no matter how the chips fall, I don't beat myself up. That's the intent. The goal is to leave it all within your training, and then give it all you have when you compete, and you can be satisfied with your result. And as I transition into the next phase of my life, which I admit I'm definitely struggling with emotionally, from a purpose of training perspective, it's hard for me because, why train 2 times a day? why train as hard or as heavy as I once did. And I definitely don't from this perspective. It's definitely ratcheted back a little bit just by the nature of the change in goal, but I still train harder than, than I would need to sustain, quality of life and functional competence, maybe, erring hopefully on dominance and from a functional capacity perspective. But I really, really love working out. So that's something that I really enjoy. So there's that piece. I enjoy that moment. But I really just want to be able to keep a level of fitness that allows me to be happy. And that's a personal thing. And I think everyone needs that. And I think that this is where everyone needs to have some introspection of what is the level of fitness that you need to be happy. It's not, and yes, obviously you want to look good, but remember, form follows function. So the more that you can do, the better you will look, right? So if you're like, well, I just want to look good naked, well, then you need to be able to do more. So if you're unhappy with how you look today, then you need to look at yourself and be like, well, then what you're really saying is you're unhappy with what you can or cannot do physically. You need to improve your capacity in all areas, and then you will look better. So I think that's the nice thing about it, is that like when people are like, well, I want to get big arms. It's like, well, yeah, you can do that, but how about you just get fit? And overall, your body will naturally look the way you need to look based off what you can do. And that's why GPP CrossFit is so potent, because it is so varied that you're never going to, look awkward, right? You're just going to look fit. And everyone looks different too. It's just the way it is. And, don't stress. You're never going to look like a CrossFit Games athlete unless you train like them and eat like them, recover like them, and have the goals and mindsets like them, which most people don't. So you're not going to have to worry about that ever. So move on from that fallacy. Okay. But I think going back to the goals, it's super important. And it should be challenging. And I wrote in there, it's funny, I was like, I want to be able to do this stuff without little to no warm up. And I'll tell you why. People are like, well, that's crazy. It's like, well, obviously, you're going to warm up to I'm not going to walk up to a 315-pound barbell and clean it cold. It'd be great, but but you're just going to lift. You're going to lift until there. And I do think that as I've gotten older, warming up is nice, and it's absolutely imperative to set PRs, to warm up the body. But there's also the other side of just getting work done. And, you have to find less excuses. So if you have 20 minutes within your workout, you're just going to envelope the warm up into it. So we just don't need some elaborate, I can only achieve this on the third Sunday of a second rest week cycle of when I've taken the rest day prior. I haven't really lifted, but all that bullshit. And of course, what I meant by no warm up is that you just be able to, you can do this stuff whenever you want at the drop of a dime. And that's because that's called ready state fitness, and that's a true expression of your fitness. It's not a true expression of your environment that's cultivated. It allows you to have the stars aligned to achieve this goal, because that's bullshit. No one cares. But can you walk in the garage, throw down, and perform in whatever capacity you would like? That's what we're looking for. And create this stuff for yourself. And I can tell you a few things. It's, as I've, written down more of my physical goals and things like that, it's things that I really like. I like 1 hour sessions where I go to Mount In. I have a harder time splitting up my sessions into two parts because of the way my life is and my responsibilities are. I will always say that it is much easier to just work out once you've started working out as life gets busier. So just trying to start early morning, late night, whenever it is, just making it happen is important. But having these goals can be super powerful. And then the programming that you're following can be really helpful too, in order to see this stuff. And I'll tell you, obviously I follow the hand plan, but I don't program every single workout on it. And a couple weeks ago, we did a 2K row and I PR'd my 2K row. We did a heavy squat clean and push press, and I did push press 275 and squat clean 315. And again, the reason why I like that is because I hit the numbers I wanted to, but also didn't I wouldn't have done that on my own and be like, oh, today's, day to test the clean day or push press day. Like, it's nice to be told what to do once in a while, specifically when it comes to intimidating tests. And no one's going to do intimidating tests unless you're really told to. And also doing it around others. So that's where taking that stuff in class can be really powerful and helpful. But creating a list of micro goals. And this is my challenge for you guys out there, whatever it might be. And it's something that needs to be attainable, right? And I think, I talked about this, I don't know where I was chatting, but like a goal is a specifically desired end state stated in a positive tense to give direction, motivation, and inspiration. And when we think about that, putting that on paper, what is that end state that you want? Well, I will always be able to squat clean 315. Awesome. And one, stated in the positive tense, but giving you inspiration. It has to be realistic. Now if you want to do more than that, that's great, like time bound. But for me, it's like, I always want to be able to do that. So it's an ongoing goal. It's not finite. It's an infinite game. And with that, it's an ebb and flow. And I think that's something that really, as I've gotten older, having more infinite goals as opposed to finite goals, I think that's something that's really powerful. I read that book, Infinite Game by Simon Sinek, and there was a lot in there. And I mean, it was a basic, very simple concept when it's all said and done, where, let's look at the big picture. What is our big picture as opposed to like, hey, let's just make $500,000 this year and move on. Because really, chasing finite goals in fitness, it's same in business. And it's like, it's easy to like, hey, I want to back squat 1,000 pounds. Well, it's not hard to think about how to achieve that. You just have to sacrifice a bunch of other things, and that might not be what you want. And I think that's the key within fitness, and that's why I kind of like this new switch to infinite goals, and where I just always want to be able to do something. And that's my list. I always want to be able to X, and that for me is something that's important. So like, I always need to be able to do 50 unbroken pull-ups. I need to be able to do, 150 GHD steps in a workout and it not take it out of me. I always want to be able to go up and down a pegboard 3-4 times unbroken, walk on my hands for however long I would like. I want to be able to, run that 5K. I want to be able to run 10 miles at the, without having to go prepare for it. These are things that I really want to be able to do. I want to be able to, and here's another thing I think as I switch to this, I want to be able to do whatever life throws at me. And these are, and so what does that also mean? Like, I can't do certain things like I used to. Like, I can't snatch or overhead squat. It makes me sad as much as I used to be able to because of my wrists are really bad. But I will tell you that I am in less pain every day, because I do that a lot less. And I think that's something within the CrossFit world that's okay, where if you have an injury or limitation, specifically those of you that have competed a lot, it's okay to kind of not do certain things, touch them once in a while, be smart, but your quality of life shouldn't suffer. And that for me is part of that infinite, mindset there when it comes to these goals. But creating these things that can motivate you, inspire you, and give you direction every day. And that's what motivates you to get into the gym and pursue this stuff with intensity. And that's why I like, it's get on the bike, which is cool. And I did a lot of this when I was sick, but like, you're not going to get that fit by just cranking on the bike, because it's you can trick yourself. Sweat tricks you, right? It's like sort of the boot camp thing. Like you need to work on skills. You need to practice. You need to do things that aren't super sexy still, no matter what. I get it, like sweat and all that other stuff, it matters, but you will lose certain things if we don't end up practicing that stuff. So, and look outside the box of what you've normally done. Like for me, I do a lot less handstand push-ups now, but I do a lot more dumbbell strict pressing. And who would have thought every time I get upside down, I can do more dumbbell strict press. I've learned things that I didn't learn prior when I was competing, because I was so focused on, all right, well, if these are the skills that I need to do in competition, I should always work on these skills. Whereas if you can do 20 to 30 standing dumbbell strict press at 50-pound dumbbells, no handstand push-up will get in your way. I promise you that. so why didn't I do more of that? And now also, as someone who is a little weaker on the dumbbell because I'm not big and strong, my grip gets stronger. It might get me better, right? Concepts that we've always known, but it's easy to overlook when you're specializing. And this is something that we try to also put into our hand plan programming now. And I think it's sometimes not super sexy for the competitors because they see this stuff and like, well, why am I doing this? And it just, you do learn as you get older, and something that I think, it's not that I'm not competitively training. I absolutely am, but my purposes are different. But I'm still learning. I'm like, wow, I'm getting better. Doing more gymnastic style kipping pull-ups and more strict pull-ups, and doing way less butterfly pull-ups. And who would have thought butterfly pull-ups are a joke? I could do 50 to 70 unbroken now and not even think twice. And also, my shoulders don't bother me as much because I'm not over volumizing something I don't need to anymore. So again, these are just some things to think about. And I really wanted to get on a little soapbox about it, but creating infinite goals within your fitness as opposed to finite goals, depending on where you're at. Finite goals are important specifically in the beginning of your journey, but as we get older, let's start to look, what do we always want to be able to do? And obviously these numbers will change, right? I'm 32, right? Turning 33 this year. Now, I'd like to be able to do this for the next 10 years or so, and I think that's fair. But as I get older and as life changes, the infinite goals might shift, but the concept is still the same. I always want to have competency in these areas. And then I wanted to share that with you. Hopefully you find some inspiration in that. Write your list down, put it out there in the public, and I really want to give that stuff to you guys. So again, let's kind of shift the mindset for those of us that are in that area, but never stop pushing that level of intensity that garners that adaptation. Give it all you got, and put yourself on blast. Have some fun with it. So again, as I went on the soapbox, I realized that the title of this podcast is Infinite Goals as opposed to Finite Goals. Hopefully you liked it. On the soapbox, 17 minutes, under 20 minutes. We'll catch you next week, gang.